And then
Mhm.
I have to figure out where it was. All
Mhm.
right. So, Andrew, this, as I mentioned, this will be a video that's going to go out to all of our amazing women in real estate. And can you first introduce yourself, what you do, and why you're so awesome?
Well, my name's Andrew. I'm a business coach. That's my day gig, but I also have a publishing company which I've had for about the last 30 years, and I publish business books. So the two go really, really well together. Why am I so awesome? I think it's actually around family values. I'm a real family sort of guy. So subsequently, I've got a lot of really close relationships, and I have very long-standing relationships. So that's clients, customers, friends. There's a. We were talking about this a little while back, Kim, about about what we value in working with people, um, and I think genuine relationships has been a mainstay for everything I've done forever. So yeah, so I think that it's the people around me that make me awesome, I think.
Well, one of the things I loved about you is when I found out the work you've done with children
Yeah.
and everything. And can you give us a little bit about your educational background?
Yeah, so there's actually two things, 2 points there. Firstly, I started life as a school teacher, believe it or not. So I ended up with a degree in education, and I taught in remote country schools with young children for about 10 years, right, which was fantastic. And then I upgraded my qualifications, and I taught in a high school, and then I actually taught at university. And then I left all that to pursue a love of publishing and advertising. So I went and I actually quit teaching. Um, so then I went back to university and I retrained in psychology. I actually majored in abnormal psychology, and I wrote a paper on stress for rural farmers, believe it or not, which it's probably farmers and dentists have the highest rate of stress and sadly suicide in globally. It doesn't matter where they are, but I was working in Australia where I was very interested in how people living in remote communities deal with stress and mental health and those sort of things, and what impact that has on children. As a result of that, I split. My third passion is I'm the chairman for Clear Sky Children's Charity here in the UK, and we look after, if you like, children aged between 4 and 12 who've experienced a trauma. So the good thing about my business coaching is it allows me to actually do a lot of work with the charity. So I'm such a fabulous coach that I'm able to, that it actually allows me to do pro bono charity work and be a non-executive director as well. So yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
So
Um,
teaching and psychology, yeah, that's my background.
and so the publishing, tell us what is the value of being published by a recognized publishing house like Writing
Mhm.
Matters versus just loading it up and doing ourselves? Where's the value in that?
Okay, so firstly, there's an immense value in being published per se. It doesn't matter who you go with, just having something published. The problem is that you want to do it well, and you want to work with someone who knows the industry and has had a fair amount of time in the industry as well, right, and understands how the industry works. The game changer has been Amazon. Because prior to Amazon being around, you didn't have access to a global market. And people say, well, why do I need a global market? Well, let me tell you, if I had a choice between a local market and a global market, I would take a global market over everything. So Amazon's made it incredibly easy. However, it's a game, and you've got to understand how that game is played. It's not only algorithms, but it's keywords, it's rankings, there are heuristics about what makes a good book and what doesn't from Amazon's point of view. There's a whole lot of research in the back end that goes into that. And that's very, very difficult for someone to just upload a book and hope it works, especially given the number of books that get uploaded to Amazon every single minute of the day, right? And we know that most of those books, they languish in the 5 million ranking. And for example, I've done books recently where we're ranked at about 123 up to 1,000. So if you're somewhere in there, that's actually a good book. So, but you need to know how to play that game. So, yeah, by all means, you can load a book up. Doesn't mean it'll be designed well. It doesn't mean it'll be edited well. Doesn't mean it to be that you'll have a strategy for a launch campaign, which we've got all of that involved. So, and I think probably the benefit of working with me is that I've had, if you like, a track record in publishing for at least 30, 35 years. So I've seen just about everything you could possibly want to do in publishing. Yeah.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what an author can expect when it comes to assets. What will they have to work with, and how can we guide them?
Oh, okay. Well, and I'm assuming that if they come on this program, what assets they'll have, because not every author gets assets. What they end up with a book, right?
Yeah.
But if people on this project, firstly, will end up with, obviously a book, right? So they'll get a book, right? But importantly, they'll end up with a 3D a 3D mock-up of the book. So you're going to get something that you can JPEG that you can go out with. You'll have a flat two-dimensional showing the front and the back of the book. I've also set up, and in conjunction with yourself, we've set up a grab bag, if you like, of different PowerPoints that people can go in and adapt and put their own quotes in their own headshot and photo in. So you've got a resource base there. In addition to that, we'll show you how to actually register as an author on Amazon, how to become an affiliate on Amazon. We'll show you how to play the pre-launch game. So you'll have the asset there will be how to actually run a campaign. So in actual fact, we run 3 campaigns. There's the pre-launch for the Kindle book, then there's the launch of the actual physical paperback, and then there's the ongoing marketing of the book. So a lot of people think, yeah, job done. I've done the book, don't need to do any more. The job actually starts once the physical book comes out, because you want to keep that top of mind and in front of people quite often. So in terms of that, there's assets, but also there's the community. So I believe that the great thing about a multiple author book is that you're actually coming into, and we have a special Chatham House Rules Telegram group. We used to be on WhatsApp, and somebody said, no, we don't want to be on WhatsApp because WhatsApp's associated with somebody else, and Telegram's an independent, very much like WhatsApp. So there's a group there where you get all of the information and all the support that you need. Plus, you're hanging out with some really amazing people. So some great synergies in there. There's great networking in there. So you're not actually doing it on your own. And as a result of that, you'll get, if you like, the guidance and instruction of, okay, here's what you need to be doing at each step of the way. And you're just leveraging your peeps, but because you've got other authors on the book, they're also leveraging you as well. So it's a team sport. And I like to say, think of it like it's a team sport. It's a community project. Think of it like that. Yeah. So, there's a lot of hard assets and soft assets as well. Yeah.
And one of the things that we'll be doing from my side, what I'm hoping to bring to this is the collaboration piece and do press releases to as many of the local bloggers and podcasters that are women in business, women entrepreneurs, and real estate. So I'll be providing that to them also. So real quick, let's go through the question of, but Andrew, I already have a book. Why do I need this?
You already have a book?
Yep, I already wrote a book. So why do I need you?
Why do I need you? Oh, God, that's a hard question. That's a really interesting one. It doesn't hurt having another book, and it certainly doesn't hurt having a multiple author book, right? And that's what this is. So if you've got a book, that's great. I hope it's going really well for you. That's true. But the great thing about a multiple author book, particularly with a global reach, is that you've got the other authors pushing you out to a much wider trusted tribe, right? So people are going to go on their recommendation. They're going to buy the book and they're going to meet you through that book. So I've collaborated on about 28 books, but I've written 6 books of my own. So I can see it from both things, and you know what? Both equally give me a platform. I can tell you there's a massive difference between having a book and not having a book. If I had to say to people, probably one of the best bits of advice is write your own book or be part of a book, like a multiple author book. I would definitely encourage you to do that. I know that here in the UK, and I know in Australia, that if journalists, if they're looking for a topic and they're looking for a subject expert, they actually Google the topic and book. And if you haven't done a book, well, you don't come up in those searches, whereas there's a high likelihood that you'll come up in those, particularly if you're doing things like if you're doing Facebook or Instagram, or you're doing tweeting, or you're doing LinkedIn, for example. So if you're actually building up, content, one of the great things is on this group is you're going to be able to other authors that actually do a FaceTime live and interview those other authors about your book, where you'll be able to be talking about why you wrote the chapter, and it's almost like you cross interview one another, and that gets tremendous reach. So I don't know if I've answered the question.
Oh, you did.
I think it adds having a second. It doesn't hurt having a number of books. As I said, I've written a lot of books, so yeah, it doesn't hurt to have
Awesome.
another one.
So the more people hear from you, the more likely you're going to be able to engage them. Awesome.
Oh, totally. Yeah. You said it better.
Okay, so let's go through. We had a couple questions tossed at us in regards to let's see, payment, a number of books, things like those. Can we actually go back to that list that was sent to you that you reviewed, and we'll just go through that? So do you have that list in front of you, Andrew?
The list of
the questions that you went through with Kate.
With Kate. Yeah, I had a couple of questions, but it was over a series of different emails.
Okay, let me see if I can find that. So
I've got a bunch of stuff in front of me here. Yeah.
Okay, Kate. Perfect. Yeah. So if you could just tell us what the question is, and then share with us, and then we can just kind of go through these, and then yeah, I think this would be a great resource.
Yeah. Okay. So okay, some of the questions that were asked was who else is going to be in the book, and I think from my perspective, and you might want to jump in here, but some of the authors on the book, they're all in the real estate industry, and they're women, and they're successful women. Do you want to add to that?
All the women I go through and I do a series of vetting. So I'm going to cross-reference all of their social media. I'm going to find out who other site they're looking at. So if I'm looking at a site and it has Tom Ferry and Brian Buffini on it, and I see you on it, I know that there has been some vetting, some serious vetting going on. I'll also cross-reference into social media. I want to see who has, family, or who's committing back to their community, or who's teaching on a local level, because I believe that all of those things take a play in the who the individual is. And every woman in this book is somebody I would feel absolutely 100% confident in referring one of my sisters or my daughter or a friend to for leadership within the industry.
Yep. Okay. I had some questions about payment.
Yeah.
The money question. If you want me to cover off on that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Okay. So I was asked what were the ways of paying, and so the three and that's in the writer's guide. So everyone will have that in the writer's guide. You can either do a bank-to-bank transfer, which I think is probably the most reasonable cost-wise. I don't think there's much. I know because it's an international transfer. We've got a funny situation. I'm in the UK, and we've got people in the USA and Canada, right? So so because we're running the project, the payments are made to my company. Okay, but they're bank to bank. Now we track those very, very carefully. I have a what you call a trust account, where those funds are actually parked into trust, and they do not get touched unless and until the project has been launched. That's the physical book. Once that goes live, then we've fulfilled our obligation. There is a second and third way to pay, and the second way is either PayPal or Square, because some people have asked, can they pay credit card and US dollars? And I've said, yeah, we can arrange that. So in every case, when somebody participates in this project, they signal that they want to participate, and they signal that with an email, and they tell us who they want the invoice to be made out to. So, for example, if you have a company, you would prefer to be invoiced to a company rather than a personal name, you need to tell us, well, please make out the invoice to this company. Because of different states have different tax laws, for example, or tax statutes there. Some of you just require the name of the company, whether it's a PLC or an LLC or a limited company. Some of you, for accounting purposes, have to also have an address and a person's name on that invoice as well. So I'm happy. So whatever's relevant to your jurisdiction, please let me know. This is how you want me to head up the invoice. So if it's a company name and then the address, just let me know that. I need to know, just remember I'm in the UK, so don't put NJ, it probably means New Jersey or whatever. You need to say it's New Jersey in brackets NJ if it's an abbreviation, so I know what it is, right? If it's in Canada, they might put Winnipeg WP for something. I don't know. I'm thinking Winnipeg or Ontario OT or who knows what it is. You've got to tell me where it is, right? So I can put that on your invoice. Okay. I'll be quite upfront. It's a funny thing to actually pay someone this sort of money into another country. You go, where's this guy? Well, the good thing about this is that if you're doing it through PayPal, and this was a couple of people asked me, if you do it through PayPal and Square, they charge a 5% transaction fee. So you need to add that to your payment. So we'll invoice you for that. But it means too that if you've got a relationship with PayPal or Square that you can follow up on payments, etc. But again, all monies are held in trust. They don't get banked or they don't get actioned unless the project is completed. Another question that was asked of me, what happens if the book is parked for a little while? So in other words, and for example, I have a book at the moment where I had 2 authors. One of them, unfortunately, fell quite ill, so couldn't join in, and I had another author who was all set to go in there, and unfortunately they've become a what's it called, a casualty of COVID. So they had a business that was entirely reliant on filling seats in hotel venues, couldn't do it, and so they parked their commitment, right? So we simply parked the book while we went looking for a couple of other authors. And then then the project was continued. If I believe the project won't continue, then those monies get refunded. I don't hold on to those monies. So those were some of the big questions that I've been asked by different people. Somebody asked me, do I get an itemized invoice statement of the services that are being specifically provided? It's author fee. That's the service you're paying. You're paying an author fee to participate. It's hard to itemize. There's something like at least 44 things that we do in this project at the back end. So, but it comes down to the first stage is to do to receive your submission. It'll be then read. It'll be then proofed at this end. Incidentally, if you do submit something, you and 2 other people need to proof it before it's submitted. And I mean proof things like grammar, but also, I mean, I received a submission the other day, Kim, where they put a placeholder phone number. They went 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 because they were looking whether they were unsure whether to do an 800 number or some other. So they forgot that they just put in a placeholder number. So I went back and I said, "Is that your phone number or is that just a placeholder?" And they went, "Oh my God, we forgot to proof that." I've had typos in their names on their website. So we do check the links, and if the links don't work, we'll come back and say, but you need to test those yourself. Get 2 other people to test all that, right? So basically it's you submit the article. That's one thing. We proof it. We do the layout and the design. So that's, if you like, stage 1. Nothing goes to print unless and until you have given me an okay to proceed, and that is everybody has given an okay to proceed, right? And part of being on the Telegram group is we hustle. We tell you, okay, we need you to okay your document, but you will receive those by email. Now, what you receive is you actually receive a layout of your chapter as it will appear in the physical paperback, right? And you approve that, and from that we make any corrections and changes to the physical book and the Kindle book. So we're doing them side by side. Okay. So part 2, if you like, is that final proofing stage. And then that covers, so those 2 big stages, but there's roughly about anything up to 40 different tasks sitting inside of that. So technically it's the layout design and the proofing aspects. That's really what you're covering off there. Yeah. Plus the service of doing the research, the keywords, the algorithm, all of that stuff from the back end. Yeah.
All right. Wow. Okay. So now we've done the proof. We've got everything put together. We've reviewed the how to make payment and why and
Yep.
where it's held.
Yep.
Can you run me through once it all comes, like once we're starting to do, can you give us a general overview as to how we get this launched on Kindle and how many countries is Kindle?
Sure. So once we've got your article in and we've approved it and you've approved it, more importantly, and we're ready to proceed, right? I don't know if it's getting too dark here. I might have to turn on a light because I'm suddenly looking quite sinister. I'm looking at this light. One sec, hang on. There we go. That's a little.
There we go. Oh, that's nice and warm.
Okay. Yeah. So once we've got all of the copies approved, so everybody's done their edits, and you've come back and said, okay to proceed. And I'm going to ask you to send me an email, okay to proceed. And we go backward and forward until I get that. And we've got to have 100% all in, right? So we don't go anywhere near Kindle or press until we've got 100% all in by everybody, okay? So once we've got that, then we set up a schedule for when we're going to pre-launch the Kindle book. And once we've got that, so you'll get the collateral, so you'll get those JPEGs we talked about, you'll get that PowerPoint you'll get that we mentioned a little bit earlier, so that you've got stuff that you can put on social, you can send it out in emails. So once we've got a pre-launch date, and it will usually be about maybe a week to 10 days out from the actual physical live date, you can start promoting the book. And the beauty of that is that when it goes live with a ranking, which is really, really nice, because that's what we're shooting for, right? So that's the first thing. So the first campaign is to get behind the Kindle book. Now, the Kindle book will be a nice price. So it might be, for example, 99 cents US, right? Then once the book goes live, so people can buy it for 99 cents, okay? Once the book goes live, then the price goes up. So it's almost like a little ethical bribe, which is you can buy the book for 99 cents. And the deal is you can have it for 99 cents if you leave a review. And one of the things we're going to be encouraging people to do is not only tell your tribe about the book, but also encourage them to leave a review as well. Now, Amazon has an algorithm, very clever one, which looks at whether the review has come from a verified purchase or not. So people get up because they want to be a buddy and say, this is a great book, but if it's not a verified purchase, our algorithm actually deducts points from you. So we want to make sure that the people you're encouraging to do a review, they've actually bought the book, okay? They can't leave a review before the book actually gets physically launched. So Amazon will wake up to that as well. So we encourage them once it goes live to start leaving reviews after that. The purpose of the Kindle launch is to get social proof, and that comes in the form of a ranking. So let me just grab a book so I can show an example of what that looks like. So as an example, I've got some examples right here. This is an example of a book called Franchising Freedom, and you can see there we've got the rankings on the top there, right? You may or may not be able to.
I can see it.
Yeah, so we've got a #1 new release in the USA, Australia, and the UK. We've got #1 Australian small business franchise. That's the category. Number 2 in US small business franchise. #2 in the UK home-based businesses. #5 in Canada. So there's social proof of how the book ranked, right? This one here, for example, again, we're using that ranking on the top. This is the social proof that the book actually ranked well on Amazon, right? So it's that's a great book, by the way, Spiritual Fitness by a friend of mine, right? This is my book. Look at this, look.
Awesome.
Number one. Now, this is a book on communication. Strangely, it went number one in customer service, how to communicate with customers, because this book was how to communicate with someone who's really upset. And it was picked up by customer service people, customer experience, customer service people. So it went to number one in that. So I was really happy. This is another book I wrote, and it was The Money Chimp. And that's actually, I'll talk about this one. This was my book starting, and it was number one in small business books.
Awesome.
Okay? So you're using that social ranking. Now, Kindle, actually, I've got to tell you the best one of all. This is the book that just, look at that, just keeps giving. This is a book I wrote called Manage and Multiply Your Money. And it was number one in budgeting and money management in the UK.
Awesome.
Right? So that lets people know they're making when they see that, they go, oh yeah, this is a book that, it's like anything. When something's number one, busy gets busy in business, you know that, and rankings drive traffic, because they go, oh, that's good. Plus Amazon likes that as well. Okay, so Kindle goes live in 12 countries, right? But when the book goes live, it can go live in as many jurisdictions as we choose. So as an example, the average number of jurisdictions that a book will go live in is about 23, 24, right? But I've had a book on micro money transfers, for example, which went live in 32 countries. So the demand for the book, and I've done a book on customer experience, for example, where it also was about 35 countries where people were asking for the book. So we were getting number one in Brazil, number one in Germany, we had it in Vietnam, we had it in Australia, it was Singapore. It's people, whatever the buzz that was created around that book, the paperback goes into as many countries as where you can buy Amazon books. Yeah, just go on the demand for it. So, but Kindle is 12 countries. Yeah.
Okay, and so what is the estimated time or energy input per author to elevate these books to this level?
The Kindle campaign that we run, okay, is we're asking people, because it's a pre-launch, we're asking you to ask your peeps, okay, your tribe, to buy that book. And it could be, because we don't want to, Kim and I don't want to exhaust you, right? We don't want to stretch the friendship and, you're on the social media 24/7, right? However, there's probably 1 or 2 days where we intensely need you to lean in and keep telling your people to buy the book, right? And
is part of that going to be some of those slides or assets that you have where they can utilize those?
Yeah, totally. That'd be the time to do it. That'd be exactly the time to do it. Now, the really amazing thing is once it starts going, I'm watching the rankings, and so are you as the author. You're watching them as well, and you can see the book trending, right? So we'll show you how to take screenshots, right? And it's really exciting and a little bit addictive, because you've got work to do, but you keep checking in on Amazon to see how the book is trending, right? Which I really love. It's so exciting because people go, oh, no, I haven't got time. Hang on, can you hold it? I just want to check my Amazon, So it gets really super exciting because it's like I don't know whether it's a horse race or it's like the release of a hit song or something like that. You're seeing it climb the charts, It gets very, very exciting. So we'll show you where to look. You'll be looking where the book is, but also under hot new releases and things like that. We'll show the categories to click on, and you'll be grabbing your own collateral in terms of screenshots that you can use in marketing, not just now, but ongoing, So if you're asked to speak somewhere, you can send them screen grabs of the Amazon rankings and things like that. But we'll be collecting that as well and making that available to you. So and from my part, I'll be looking at where the book is launched in the jurisdictions and tracking the progress in those jurisdictions and giving you screenshots from places you hadn't even thought the book might show up. So you can say, shoot, I've actually got a number one book in the Netherlands, or I've got a number one book in Venezuela, or who knows? I don't know. I'm making that one up.
You never know. And I know that emerging markets like South Africa and India are also always looking for things that are going on in North America, because they're emerging markets. These are emerging economies. Never one to turn away. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that's a really good point you make, because I had an author who did a book on drones. Drones, professional drones, right? And she's based in South Africa, and she actually spoke at a conference. It was, unfortunately, couldn't go there in person, but was online to a conference on drones, and then one in Japan. And she said, and she was part of a multi-author book, right? But because she was a leading, she's an aviatrix, I think it's called, a female pilot. So she's a fully qualified commercial airline pilot, but she's also a drone pilot. And apparently that's quite a rare commodity in the aviation industry. And so not only is she a qualified pilot, but she's a leading female pilot with a book. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Turn off notifications.
Yeah.
Oh, I get all these pop-ups and I'm just turning them all off.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we're talking about women and how they can leverage this, obviously conferences, finding a lot of the women that are going into the book are going to have coaching. That's something I'm really looking forward to, seeing their businesses grow just by having access to a larger market. But
Yeah.
when we're looking at where the world's at today with COVID and the estimated recession, which is they're estimating that there's going to be a slight recession in women's incomes due to the children constantly having to be grounded back at home, and typically the woman. What are some of the things that you see of benefit to people who are authors that they can generate revenue that maybe we can't do hands-on through COVID?
I think the obvious one, this is a great question, actually. It's a really good question, because believe it or not, I'm a grandfather. Right? My daughter just had a baby about a week and a half ago. And suddenly I've got grandpa duties, right? So I've got four grandkids, and both my son and daughter, they're professionals. My daughter's taking time out, obviously, but she said, "Oh, Dad, can you come?" and blah, blah, blah. And my son said, "I've got 3 kids. Can you come over?" So the thing that I'm telling my clients as a business coach is you get a little bit smarter with your time and a lot more target and a lot more focus. So, for example, you do what you can in the time that you've got available. And so a smart use of your time might be to do things like shorter video, but more of them, right? So yep. I know people who are saying, "Oh, let's do this big whatever it is." Well, just do shorter bursts, right? The other thing is that I've advised, and we could probably do a Zoom session on this with the authors, right? But sometimes it's to take some of your collateral and turn that into either sprints, like something you could do like a 15 minutes a day over a week, or you could do an hour once a week for 6 weeks. So I'm giving people ideas like that. But it's not to drop off the radar, but it's to use your time really smartly. 4 things I would probably say right now, particularly, is niche product, niche customer, niche performance, and niche desires, and focus on those 4 things. So who's my niche customer? So tailor your marketing around your niche customer, and that could be A, B, C, D, customers, or it could be the customers you love working with the most, right? So I'm working with a little horticulturalist who they love people who love acer trees, and if you know Japanese maples, they're beautiful gardens in summer, wonderful. Well, they've just tailored all their marketing just to acer trees, right? So that's the niche product, but the niche customer is acer tree lovers, right? And they talk about performance. How do you prepare your garden? Blah blah blah. Now, and why do they want it? Because they want an amazing, impressive garden. So again, it's tailoring your message. So again, that's just a broader concept. With the book, lean into the book. There's no point doing a book and then saying, right, book done, I'll go next thing. It's keep leaning into it. This little book here I put out in 2016, The Money Chimp. And The Money Chimp is how to manage your money. And then I updated the information, and also a slightly different one for professionals, right? So this was for general, and this was for professionals. So manage and multiply your money. And so people say, how come it's been a bestseller for so long? It's because it's like one of my children. I didn't abandon them, right? So I kept talking about them, right? I kept drip feeding it. And, the book that we're doing, folks, is an evergreen book. And that's what I love about this particular book and this series. Where resilience doesn't go away, and nor do empowered real estate women. It's an evergreen. The things you're going to be writing about in your chapter are things that are going to help people right now, but it's great advice ongoing, right? That's why you keep promoting your book, right? The concepts in here, I mean, isn't it crazy? This is what my grandma, what Nan and my mum and my dad told me when I was a kid growing up. It's a really old chestnut, don't spend more than you earn.
Yeah.
Don't simple little thing like that.
And you know what? And real estate is having a successful profession in real estate. I find it fascinating that the majority of our coaches are male, yet 56% of the individuals in residential real estate are female. Yeah. So I think getting the names out there and knowing that it's okay to talk about money and wealth accumulation and what we can do with that as women. And that's one of the goals with this book, is to open up that conversation. And it's okay as a woman to talk about money.
I actually like what you're saying there, Kim, too, because a lot of my clients say, like, for example, I work with several women clients who say there's no role model for this. Who do I role model on, right? And I'm a bit worried about money, and I say, well, are you any good at what you do? Yeah. I said, well, charge more for it, right? But so the great thing about being a multi-author book, you're hearing not only what you've got to say, but you're hearing what other people in your industry are saying as well, and that can be incredibly encouraging. But at the heart of it, you're going to be writing something that is of value not only to other people in the industry, but also the punter as well, the people who buy, right?
Yeah.
And I think the good thing about that is that if you're doing a job well, I often say this, Kim. What's the goal of business? I ask people worldwide when I do conferences, what's the goal of business?
The goal of business itself is to, for me, the goal of business is to create more business and more opportunity. I'm always growing my sphere and allowing me to live the lifestyle I want to live.
Yeah. So this is it's a great answer, by the way, right? And wrong answer though.
Okay, what's the right answer?
I hate to say this. The goal of business is to make money, right?
See, we just saw the number one issue with women in business.
Yeah. So I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you right here, girls. I'm going to change your life right now, right? The goal of business, I don't care what industry you're in, the goal of business is to make money. If you're in any doubt, ring up the IRS and say, hey, what's the goal of my business? And I'll say, make money. Why? So we can tax you, right? So that's the goal. But if I said to you, what's the purpose of your business? That's the answer you gave me, right? So a lot of people confuse those two things. The goal of business is to make money. The purpose of business is to create opportunities for growth and development. So there's nothing wrong. So a lot of my women clients, for example, confuse those two things. Once they get, this is the goal of business to make money. How much money? So you can focus on the financial collateral side of thing. The purpose is you can focus on your values, your why, your ideals, and how they show up, and then you can see the relationship between the two, right? So I hope that changes your game, because just understand, if the goal of business is to make money, ask any tax department in any jurisdiction you're in, they'll tell you, make money so we can tax you. That's it, period, right? But the purpose, that's entirely up to you.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that for a lot of women, we don't believe that the purpose can be valid if the goal is to make money.
Well, are you allergic to money, Kim?
No, I'm not. And you know what? No, I'm not. I have I have a beautiful home. I have a beautiful
That's it.
family.
Yeah, yeah,
I drive what I choose to drive, which is
yeah,
I have
yeah.
I have a hot pink Volkswagen Bug, and then
Nice.
I have a white convertible Bug.
Oh
So I have
gosh.
two Bugs for the,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they do great in the winter and they're lovely cars.
That's
So,
it.
is there anything that we're missing at this point in time that we can share with these women as to what we're working on?
Yeah, I think I would say this, right? The other thing I like about a multiple author book is, and this is I hear this all the time. Writing a book on your own actually is quite hard work, right? And
Yeah.
the good thing about a multiple author book is you don't end up not doing it on your own. And I often say to people in business, if you're doing it on your own, you're doing it wrong, right? Or not doing it as effectively as you could do. So for most people who haven't written a book, this is a lovely entree into a book,
Yeah.
because it's a community effort. You get to see, okay, I see how the pieces start to fit. You're getting a very impeccable, proven process, right? So it's nice to participate in that, right? Um, it's not onerous. I mean, 2,000, 3,000 words. I mean, you would probably speak 2,000, 3,000 words when you're pitching what you do to people. Or if the best way to write your article is think about one of your best friends, your ideal perfect reader, and you took them out for a coffee, right? And what you would say over a coffee, face to face, eyeball to eyeball, right? We're in a very relational time right now, right? It's not transactional. It's still transactional, but what's more important now is the relationships we've got. So your article has to have relational value. It has to connect with people and engage your reader. So, and when you've got a whole bunch of authors doing that task together, and you're on Telegram and reading the comments that people are sharing, that becomes incredibly encouraging, and the networks that you build up within that. I think it's a wonderful experience. If you've written a book, so I know people who've written books and they say I've written a book was great, but doing this was just fabulous. It was just such an exciting experience, right? Suddenly the joy came back into writing a book, right? And I think you'll be surprised and encouraged. You know what? I think I should go and write my own book now if you haven't already done that, right? Because it'll give you if you like, it'll give you that experience, but also the proof that it actually is a great experience and it's a good thing to do, right? The thing I'll tell you won't work for you, and that is if you write a book and then forget about it, right? So I know people who say, I wrote a book, nothing happened. And when I actually say, well, what did you do around the book? Did you talk about it? Did you get on there? And no, they didn't. When I sold, and Kim, and I sold prestige real estate many, many years ago, right? I had a publishing business. I was actually in competition with Rupert Murdoch. So just so you know, Rupert won, right?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and I had a moment where it was a crossroads between money and value. I was about to go and do the biggest deal in my life, but I had to go and do this deal at 2 a.m. in the morning at a nightclub, right? And I had this discussion with my wife about should I go or not, and I said, yeah, but it's a lot of money. And I was driving into the city, and I think this is crackers. What am I doing? Right? It is a
Yep.
nightclub. It's a grimy, smoky environment. It could be, organized crime. It could be drugs. It could be, it's not me. It wasn't my values. So after a long drive in there, I turned around and came home, and I thought, you know what? And this business is crazy. So I shut that business down, right? And a mate of mine was in real estate, and he said, you're really good with people. Why don't you come do real estate? And then they taught me all the real estate dirty tricks, right? And I hated every single one of them. And I thought, no, I'm going to do it the way I normally do it, which is build relationships. So I got 50,000 business cards printed up, 50,000 business cards. And I walked the whole neighborhood and dropped cards in week after week after week, right? And I got to know so many people. And it was one of those. There's a lady who came to me one day and she said, I want to buy this house. And I said, oh, where are you living? And she said, I'm over there. And I said, this is on the island, you know that? And it was a bridge to the island, right? And I said, this is on the island. I said, and the school is the other side of the river. I said, unless you teach your kids to row a boat, you're going to have to drive up out of here along the highway, back down. You can see the school. It's just the other side of that river. And then you're going to have to come back again. And you're going to do that 4 times a day at peak hour. what I recommend you do is buy something but don't live in it. Go live over the other side of the river and maybe rent this out, right? Her and her husband actually bought a house near the school on the other side of the river, right? But she said, I can't believe the amount of referrals I got from that woman and her husband.
Yep.
Because they said this guy thought about us, right? And what our needs were, and took the time to find out what we were trying to achieve, right? And I think that's something a lot of men need to learn about real estate. And this is why women are so successful in residential real estate, is because they think about who's going to live in there. And I could never sell a house and look someone in the eye if I thought, you know what, they shouldn't be there, right? And I would tell them that, right? Subsequently, I made more referrals from people I didn't sell to, right? But then my sales manager said, "What are you doing? And I was on commission only, right?" And I said, "Well, you get your credit card out and I'll tell you." Because I was paying to have a desk in that office, right?
Yeah.
I was on commission only, right? And he said, "Well, what are you doing? What are you doing? Well, how come you've gone up the leaderboard? How are you doing in the days when we had a leaderboard?" He said, "How are you doing that?" And I said, "Well, you get your credit card out and I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing." But you know what? It wasn't a secret. It was just go out and meet people and be real.
Yeah.
You know,
transparency, I think, is critical. Resilience, and understanding that. Yeah, exactly. Just
about me or you. Yeah. Make it about your client, right? I think that's what I like about where we're coming from this. You know, resilience is, you know, as an author, you're going to be role modeling. Writing a chapter will force you to think about, how do I do success? You know, how does success show up and how do I actually do that? But it'll also then help you distill that, because 3,000 words, you've really got to be concise and distill your thinking, right?
Exactly.
I think that's a fabulous thing. But it also then means people read that and they go, it's a gift. It's almost like a gift to your reader, whoever the reader is, about how to do life. Right?
Exactly.
And keep it real. You know, resilience, you can't be resilient. Embedded in resilience is authenticity, right? We know that, and as I'm a qualified in psych, right? We know that the people who are resilient tend to be, you know, in most cases, can't think of anyone who isn't, but people who are resilient tend to be very genuine, authentic people, right? Because you need that to tough out tough times. By the way, COVID will come and go. My gran lived well into almost to 100, and she said the one thing I learned from my gran, she said, it came to pass, Andrew, didn't come to stay.
Yeah. Well, and we've seen that and what's great though is,
and she went through the Spanish flu. And
the Spanish flu had a much higher mortality rate.
Oh, totally.
I think we're being gifted in this generation with something that is widespread and global, but not nearly as deadly as it could have been. And so utilizing this opportunity, and we are looking at literally, this is the change in the way we do business. What was it? BlackRock, Larry Fink, who is the CEO of BlackRock Hedge Fund and Commercial Development, worth what, $16 billion, said he believes that close to 30% of the people will never go back to an office after this.
And you know, that's true. I agree with that.
Yeah. So,
and I don't have 16 billion.
No. No, he's an interesting guy to follow. Okay, real quick before we sign off, Telegram. You've mentioned Telegram. I want you to walk me through this real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Loaded it up on my phone, so I have it here on my phone. It's just like a little paper airplane, which is nice. So, how do I invite somebody on here?
Okay, so Telegram. Let's just go back. Telegram, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little, it looks like the paper plane, right?
Yep,
which you've got that.
Right
okay,
there.
you can just search in your app store or whatever it is, search for Telegram, okay? And we've got a Resilient Women group in there, right?
Okay.
Now, Kim and I have phone numbers, so we've got your phone number. So we know who's on board, so we'll send you a link to invite you into the group, right? One of us, either myself or Kim, will invite you in that, right? So we will invite you into the group so that you've got you coming in there. Now, the purpose of Telegram is so that Kim and I can talk to you once, and not have to email all different times and hope it works. So you've just got to, if you like, overcome the resistance to just one more app. This one's a good one. It's there's going to be a lot of noise in there, which is great, but it means just keep strolling through. If that bugs you, turn the notifications off. Right, you can do that. Turn the dings and the notifications off. But make sure that you check it each day. And I would say just have a thing where you check it in the morning and check it probably early evening, just to play catch up. Now, as soon as we go to launch, we'll let you know, because you would have gone through that OK to proceed proofing process. I will be telling you, jump on Telegram, be on there quite often, because the instructions will be coming thick and fast at that point. And I'll be doing a combination of audio and text messages in there. So there'll be some stuff to listen to, and there'll be stuff to read as well. Maybe even a video, who knows?
Awesome. Awesome. So we'll get this out. Andrew, any closing words, anything else that you'd like to share with the ladies?
Yeah. Firstly, jump into it. Lean into this. It's one of those things that you're already in this book. You're being asked in this book because you're already successful, right? In your case, you're not being helped by this book. You're getting distinctions, I think, and that's a really important thing. Successful people want distinctions. They don't need help. I've learned that through business coaching, right? But I think it's a lovely thing. It's almost like a collegiate experience to get around your peers, people who are heavy hitters like yourself. It's a wonderful thing. I know that from doing this with people build friendships for life out of this. It's another perspective where you can have a Chatham House rules conversation with someone and get that support that you need or encouragement. Because when you play at the top, right, quite often it's not lonely. It's just you can't have these sort of conversations with people. You can't have them with your investors, can't have them with your staff, can't have them with your team, but you can have them with your team in this group, because it's Chatham House rules arrangement, right? So the collegiate support in this is just wonderful, particularly at the level you're playing at, right? I want to thank you in advance, right, for considering this and being part of it. I think this is a wonderful thing. Someone did ask what were we timing for. We have a frame that we're hoping for the Thanksgiving weekend. I think we've got a deadline of this Friday, I think, fingers crossed.
Yep. Okay. Fingers crossed.
Yep. The only thing I'd ask, if you're playing, let Kim know, because Kim and I are chatting on a regular basis. Let Kim and I both know that you're participating. Jump into the group, or we'll add you into the group. But once you're in there, get into the group, introduce yourself, say hi to everybody, upload a photo of yourself if you like. But play all out, right? Lean into it, lean into this process. Don't lean out of it, right? I know you guys are heavy hitters, but still lean in. This is a challenge that I think you're going to really enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew, for your time.
You're welcome.
We'll get this out to all the gals ASAP.
Yeah, and look, I moved in too, so I know all the things. I know a thing or two about real. People going, look at this messy off. I just moved in.
I just moved in. You're still working hard. All right.
I'm still working on it. Good stuff. Thanks for your time, guys. Thanks for your time, Kim. Appreciate it.
Awesome. You take care.
Okay.
Bye now.